In the top of the tower elevator, Zach complains to Abby that Scott's always had it in for him. Abby wants to go back and clear things up, but Zach convinces her to come with him. Back at the party, Tessa tries to assure a panicking Crystal that she's safe there. Crystal cries that Zach doesn't lose, he holds grudges, and just gets angrier. Nearby, Victor tends to Nikki, who wails that Ashley's mother slashed her arm to break up her and Jack. Ashley realizes Dean is missing and is angry that Victor wants to call the police. Meanwhile, Scott and Sharon discuss Zach. Tessa informs them Crystal is gone and admits she helped her disappear. Scott takes off, and Noah asks the guests to leave, while Ashley and Nikki continue to bicker about Dina. Victoria interjects that Ashley needs to talk to her mother and her daughter. Ashley, Victoria, and Neil confer about the allegations regarding Zach. When Paul arrives, Nikki relays the incident with Dina. Victor wants to press charges, and he and Victoria take Nikki to the hospital. Ashley questions Nikki's story to Paul before the conversation turns to Abby and Zach. Paul warns Neil that he can't guarantee the allegations won't get out, and is miffed about Crystal's disappearance. In Zach's car, he lies to Abby that Tessa and Crystal were employees at his restaurant in Chicago and he fired them for stealing. They're obviously trying to get back at him. Abby doesn't believe a word of it and points out he's running away. She also feels Scott wouldn't accuse him without good reason. Zach talks about the differences in their backgrounds before admitting to running massage parlors and insisting he's providing a service now. No one is being forced into it. Abby shudders. She doesn't even know him, and his idea of success makes her sick. Zach won't apologize because it brought him to her. He'll throw it all away if she asks. Abby is through with him and his app. Zach turns grim and warns she's in this up to her neck. Abby orders him to pull over and let her out. He speeds up. Elsewhere on the road, Scott tries to catch up to Zach's car. At top of the tower, Paul gets a call from Scott. He says he's following Zach and Abby, but starts cutting out. Sharon grabs the phone, urges Granger to be careful, and adds, "I love you." They're cut off. Paul hugs a distraught Sharon and assures her they will track Scott's phone, even though he must be in the middle of nowhere. At the hospital, Victor and Victoria puzzle over Dina Margarine waving around a knife before discussing the allegations against Zach and design date. Victoria says they'll handle it. Noah enters and Victor expresses glee that he's taking over top of the tower. At Jabbit, Jack reels as Ashley reports that Dina stabbed Nikki amid accusations that Abby's boyfriend Zach is running a sex trafficking ring. Ashley tries unsuccessfully to reach Abby. He phones Nikki, who reveals she got stitches but is fine. Jack offers to pick her up, but she says Victor is there. Jack concedes he has no idea where his mother has gone. In Zach's parked car, he forces Abby to ignore her mother's calls and won't let her out. He assures her he'd never hurt her, intentionally. Zach wants to get his things from his storage unit and leave, and asks Abby to come with him. After Zach makes Abby get out of the car with him, Dina pops up in the backseat. She exits and tiptoes away. In the storage unit, Zach insists his dream was to go alleged, but Abby doesn't want to hear it. Zach goes on about how much he loves her and presses her to come with him. Scott appears. "She's not going anywhere with you." Zach shoves Scott and grabs Abby, who screams. Scott urges him to let her go. Zach asks Abby to come with him. She snaps, "No way in hell." Zach pushes her over to Scott, says he really does love her, and locks them in the storage unit. At the dark and crimson lights, Sharon leaves Scott a voicemail to call her. She needs to know he's all right. Paul arrives at Jabbit, where Jack and Ashley are speculating about Abby running off. Paul warns they've an APB out on Dina, and leaves. At the hospital, Neil presses Victor on a PR strategy, but Victor is more concerned about Jack's deranged mother and Abby going missing. Neil reminds him his company was accused of funding a sex ring. It's unlikely he can contain this, and warns, "You better be ready for what's coming next." Next on The Young and the Restless, Paul says, "Dina Margarine, I am placing you under arrest." The Dina holds out her hands and asks cheekily, "Do you want to cuff me, Paul?" Lauren tells Sharon, "None of this would have happened if you hadn't seduced my son." Victoria says, "Abby left with him." Victor replies, "We've got to find her. This is a nightmare."